Hello, Sagittarius, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot. My name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights for mid-March into early April 2023. This reading will be for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So by all means, if you know your three major placements, you are free to listen to any and all of the readings that may apply, as each one might resonate for you differently. And as always, please do keep in mind these readings are general in nature. They are meant to apply to a more broad collective of individuals, and so that means inevitably there will be details that may not be for you or may not resonate, which is totally okay. If it doesn't resonate, it's not for you. I highly recommend you take anything and everything that does resonate, however that makes sense for you or applies to your personal circumstances, and definitely use your own personal discretion in determining what is going to be most helpful and beneficial for you moving forward. So yeah, you can simply leave the rest. So Sagittarius, happy March. I hope you're doing well. This is an exciting time of year because spring is just around the corner and there's the promise of that new energy kind of coming in and shifting things for us. I'm super excited to read for you today. I've got your oracle message here. I'm going to take some time to read tarot for you, and then I will share with you the few channeled messages that I connected with before I started your reading. And we will finish off with a couple of oracle messages with the hope that they will give us a little bit more insight and detail and advice to kind of tie everything together. So before we get into your card, I will take a quick moment to share with you the energetic impression that I was picking up on as I was pre-shuffling your cards and connecting to your energy. And I will preface this by saying that there was a lot coming through for you guys. Like a lot, I would say like 2 to 3 times the amount of detail I was picking up on just prior to the reading. So yeah, like either you might have a lot going on or there just might be a lot that you need to know or that spirit is trying to get through. So just bear with me. I'm going to do my best to, not ramble on forever. The first thing that came through was the word trepidation. So like a sense of trepidation, hesitation, maybe feeling a little bit timid or unsure, not wanting to kind of like not wanting to take any chances, not feeling completely confident. And along with that, it kind of spawned into this idea of like not wanting to count your chickens before they're hatched, not wanting to get ahead of yourself, not wanting to get caught up in expectations or banking on something to happen in a certain way. So it's like you don't want to jinx yourself, right? You don't want to jinx yourself or someone else or the situation by like talking about it or counting on it. And there may even be a little bit of a like superstition going on there. If you have any like lucky underwear, lucky socks, if you have any rituals that you do that you associate with luck that may kind of tie into that idea of being superstitious and not wanting to jinx something, it's like funny energy, but it's like kind of quirky and fun. And then also it kind of took a little bit of a turn in the sense that there might also be some of you who are anticipating a loss or a failure, or perhaps you have a fear of loss or failure and how you would navigate those kinds of challenges or how you might respond if something like that were to happen to you. So you may find your mind kind of wandering into a dark spot in relation to those topics. Then the next thing that came through was like a sensation of like just kind of waiting, like sitting on your hands, and you may have things that you need to get done or stuff on your agenda, but there's a sense of like, waiting for somebody, something being up in the air and waiting for somebody, and not necessarily being able to take action on the things that you're ready to do because like this person is coming or they could show up at any time. And so like it kind of just delays you and sets your whole day back kind of thing. So that sense of like something's on the go, but I'm not knowing when it's going to happen. And it makes it really hard for me to just dive into the things that I want to and need to do because, it could happen at any time or someone could show up at any time. And like, I would rather just wait until I can do it uninterrupted than like, Murphy's Law is like, as soon as you're like, oh, this person's not going to show up on time. So it's like, I'll just start doing this anyways. And as soon as you get into it or you start to get into like the rhythm of things, then that like you get interrupted, right? So that was the vibe. I don't know how that might apply to you. But yeah, a sense of having to put off what you want to do, and it can be kind of annoying to be on someone else's schedule. The other thing that came through was a sense of questioning your senses, right? So like either you feel something physically, emotionally, you sense something spiritually, like it could be questioning your intuition. So it could be this initial, like you've experienced something or you thought that something happened, and then like you're questioning it, you're questioning yourself, and you're looking to your external circumstances for validation or for proof that yes, that is true, or that's correct, or that is what happened. And you might not be seeing that truth reflected back to you. You might not be seeing that validation. And so, yeah, you could just really, especially if you're sensitive, you might be just questioning yourself and what you're perceiving. And I would just say, like, try to honor what you experience, because we're not necessarily validated in the moment, and we can pick up on and sense things that are not necessarily really like tangibly evident. And you can absolutely, especially if you're intuitive and that's something that you value or you're trying to improve that connection for yourself, like you can really drive yourself crazy trying to look for validation. And, you know, these types of things are not necessarily meant to be understood in a logical, practical way. Or, you know, and sometimes we feel like we need validation in order to believe that our experiences are real and true, but the challenge is to honor them and believe that they're true, because, you know, it might not be until like 2 years down the road that you've got perspective and validation. And by that time, you don't really feel that you need it, but, you know, you're able to apply it looking back, right? So just keep that in mind. The other thing that I noticed is that my stomach kept rumbling, and like I've like eaten recently. It's not mine, so I don't know. Maybe you're like a hungry person. Maybe you're not eating regular meals, or you get caught up in what you're doing and you realize, you know, once your stomach has started rumbling that you haven't eaten anything. So just prioritize nourishment. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. And finally, the last thing was like a pain in the ass. So like literally sciatica. I myself suffer from sciatica, but it's on the right side. And it kind of initiates in my lower back and radiates down. This specifically is on the left side, and I feel it like right in the middle of the butt cheek. So I don't know, maybe that's something that you're suffering with. Maybe you identify with that sciatic pain on that side. Just putting it out there. Okay, so we're going to get into your card. So your oracle theme for this time period is showing up as Observer. This card has been on fire this month. This is the third time it's being drawn. So Taurus had this message come up for this month. Scorpio, who I just read for, so this is the second time in a row that it's coming out. So you may have connection to a Scorpio and a Taurus, either or. You might have that energy in your chart. I don't know. Anyways, and I will also say, with the fox being here, perhaps foxes are significant to you already. Maybe keep an eye out for foxes this month. Perhaps if you are interested, you can take a look at what the spiritual significance and meaning of the fox is. Just something for you to keep in mind. But Observer, this is all about perspective and the importance of cultivating a wide range of perspectives, being open to like a bigger picture view, taking other people's experiences and perspectives on situations into account, because we all view life through our own lens as a result of what we've experienced, what we've felt, you know, what our damage is, that kind of stuff. And so we tend to apply our own personal lens onto everyone and everything else. And that's just a natural kind of human thing to do. And the challenge is to recognize that, you know, we can kind of be limited by our own bias and by our own experiences. And sometimes, because it is so personal and so familiar to us, we can make the mistake of applying our perspective onto everyone and everything else, and thinking that like what we think and feel and know and do is right. And we try to kind of like convince other people, or we anticipate that people should act or respond to things in a way that we would, that makes sense to us. This is also kind of saying that there might be something, if there's something on your mind, if there's something that you're trying to move forward with, or something that you're struggling with, or something that's kind of showing up as a block for you, like whatever the kind of like whatever your kind of main thing going on right now is, it'll be different for each and every one of you. This is saying that you might be a little too close to it to really get the perspective that you need to move through it or to overcome it or to kind of like resolve or find a good way forward. So especially if it's something that's important and meaningful to you, especially if you have an emotional or personal connection to it. Sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees because we're so kind of wrapped up in our own experience that it's difficult to step back and to take a more neutral view and to find a little bit of objectivity, to approach it from the outside. If we were to step out of our personal experiences and our wants and needs that, inevitably will sway us in some direction. Taking a look at it from a big picture view and saying, like, if this was somebody else, going through this situation and I was objectively looking at it, like, what would I say? What advice would I give to that person? And then apply it to yourself. And it can also be the importance of talking to people, sharing your experiences, and being open to different perspectives and different takes. So if there's something that you're struggling with or something that's on your mind that you're feeling particularly stumped by, or that's kind of like a stubborn energy that you're up against, definitely talk to people. And obviously use your discretion in terms of who you feel comfortable confiding in, whose perspective you trust, because you don't want to just indiscriminately be accepting and following advice. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's up to you to decide intuitively, like, what you feel is going to be beneficial to you. But this is saying, like, there's a lot of different perspectives to connect with, and some of those are going to be really valuable, right? Like, the importance of connecting with other people is that they have different experiences and different takes on things that can ultimately kind of enlighten us, right? It can open up the door to a new opportunity or a new way of viewing something, or a new solution that we might not have come up with on our own. So this is all about kind of taking a step back, trying to remove yourself a little bit from the situation, observing what's going on with you, like what you're thinking and feeling, how you're showing up, the people around you, how they're acting, what's going on with them, surveying the landscape, right? So like the climate that you're engaging in, the qualities of those kinds of dynamics, and seeing all of this different information that is available to you and trying to kind of take that all into consideration and see, like, is there anything here that I haven't been seeing, right? And it's being willing to listen to other people, right? Because when we can accept that, we all have different perspectives and experiences, and there's no absolute one right way of doing things, then we're able to kind of give and take, right? And it's not about being right or someone else being wrong. And we can have different ways of doing things and different beliefs and perspectives and still have respect for one another, right? Still find points of commonality. So there's kind of like an added level of harmony that can be achieved when we're willing to kind of expand the net and not just look at things through the microscope. And this is saying, like, whatever it is that you're struggling with, it's chances are you're not seeing all the information that's available, right? Chances are you're so close that you're only seeing like a small part of it, and you don't necessarily have the perspective or the information that you need to make the best decision for yourself. So yeah, and this, like, in relationship to other people, it's kind of being willing to extend kindness and compassion and understanding, because, like I said, sometimes when we get so caught up in our own experience and our own emotions, we can kind of, not even intentionally or consciously, but we can kind of discount other people and their experiences, or we can kind of whitewash whatever they're going through, like just from our own point of view. So it's like there's something really beneficial to be gained by being able to, like, listen and hold space and try to understand where other people are coming from. And we have the benefit of being able to benefit from other people's experience and wisdom and lessons learned, and like maybe not having to go through those similar kinds of things ourselves, because in sharing with each other the experiences that we've had and what we've learned and gone through, like, other people might be able to help us kind of avoid making the same decisions or mistakes, and vice versa. So it's kind of like there's just a lot of wisdom and awareness to be found. And I don't get the sense that you're somebody who's particularly closed off to other opinions, but you maybe just haven't had as much of an opportunity to connect with people in different viewpoints. And this is saying like this is really a highlighted energy. So if you don't find those opportunities or you haven't been having those opportunities, this is a good time to just connect with the people that you trust, and just kind of challenge yourself to, widen your scope, like your view a little bit. And you might be surprised with the information that's available to you, right? Especially if it's something you've been dealing with is like a stubborn, challenging energy. It could just be that it's too close. It's too personal, right? And that kind of taking that step back, there might be something really obvious that hadn't even occurred to you that's kind of under your nose, and it's just zooming out a little bit is going to allow you to identify that. So that's really promising for you guys. I'm going to get into your tarot. Your first card for this time period is showing up as Strength, which is the Leo card. So we've got like Leo showing up, but then we've also got with this card the connection to Taurus and Scorpio. So something to keep in mind. Your second card is showing up as the Four of Swords, and we will get you one more. Your last card is showing up as the Page of Wands. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Five of Cups. It's like this little Six of Wands victory wants to be seen under this disappointed, struggling Five of Cups. So, all right. So what is really promising first and foremost is that we've got two fire energy cards showing up. So like your natural energy abilities, like that passion, that inspiration, that creativity, inner child kind of energy is really being highlighted. So we've got the Five of Cups showing up at the bottom of the deck. And so this is kind of like the past position. It could be deep past, it could be recent past, it could be something that you're still kind of working through or that's lingering. But this is what is informing the energy that we're seeing this for this time period. And the Five of Cups, yeah, it's kind of a sad energy. Like this could be feeling a little bit low, feeling a little bit depressed or hopeless. The energy of it is it's like, as we move through life, there are opportunities for love and connection and joy and happiness and fulfillment. And, we will make decisions or we'll capitalize on these opportunities, but we don't know inevitably like how they're going to turn out. And so sometimes something that seems like an opportunity for that love and fulfillment to be brought into your life, when you latch onto that or you move down that path, sometimes it ends up not being right. Like it could be romantically, like somebody that you thought was a good prospect, and the more that you spend time together, you realize like, no, this isn't really the right fit. It could be a job. It could be, anything that you're really hoping to bring you that sense of like love and fulfillment. And that it can be really, really disappointing, especially if it's something important to us that we've got our hopes up about. It can be really difficult to experience the pain associated with loss or disappointment or it not working out, right? And this could relate to like not counting your chickens before they're hatched. Like maybe you've gotten your hopes up or you've gotten excited about things in the past, and maybe those things haven't worked out and it's been disappointing. And so you're afraid that any opportunity for potential fulfillment, anything that makes you excited in that same capacity, that it may be destined not to work out, like history may repeat itself kind of thing. And this is saying that that's not necessarily the case, right? It's like the things that don't work out, as challenging as they may be and as difficult as it may be to experience or rectify in the moment, it's trusting that like, we're where we're meant to be and we're learning what we're meant to learn. And so even those kind of challenging and difficult experiences, like, rejection is divine protection. And I have to be very careful because I don't want to I don't want to get anyone confused in terms of like toxic positivity and like that blanket statement that everything happens for a reason. But it's like, the experiences that we have change us, and we have the opportunity to learn even from the most challenging experiences. So if we're open to it, like even an experience that is really difficult and challenging and seems to be entirely negative, right? You can choose to approach that from the perspective like, this happened to me, and it was awful and I was victimized and now I'm gonna like lose hope forever, kind of thing, right? You might be in a depressive energy, but then you can't control, and you're not responsible for what has happened to you, but you are responsible for how you work through that, like the decisions that you make and how you decide to move forward, right? And so it's up to you to decide if you want to try and reframe that experience, or if you've learned anything, if you can go back and say like, wow, I thought this was absolutely awful and it was the worst, but actually it was a blessing in disguise. Or, like, if you are open to a silver lining, it's up to you to work through that for yourself. But it's basically saying like, even the most disappointing and hurtful experiences, there is the opportunity for us to connect with more. So for every door that closes, there is another one that opens. That's just, things in life are continually moving and changing. And the difficult thing is if we're really preoccupied with the disappointments and the heartbreaks and the losses of the past and all of the things that didn't work out, it's really difficult for us to be open to recognizing and being willing to accept or move in the direction of an opportunity, like a new opportunity, right? So we might say, well, these 4 things, look, I'm pouring out this cup of disappointment, right? And all of these things did not work out, and I was so excited. And it's like, well, there's an opportunity here for you to kind of open another door if you so choose, but it can be really difficult to open yourself up to feeling vulnerable and the potential that like, yeah, it might not work out or you might get hurt, but being willing to connect with that opportunity and take that chance on yourself, because ultimately nothing ventured, nothing gained. If what you really want is to connect with those opportunities for love and harmony and happiness and fulfillment, you kind of have to take the risk of being vulnerable, and you have to take the risk of things not working out. Right? So this is basically saying like, you don't have to resign yourself to disappointment and sadness because of the things that haven't worked out in the past, but you might have to work through a lot of feelings in order to get yourself to a place where you're ready to see another opportunity. And right now it may not feel as though there are any opportunities. You may not see that as being something obviously available to you. You could feel a little bit hopeless. And this is reminding you that like, there's always something there. You might not be in a position to see it. You might not be ready to see it or receive it, but you're never stuck, right? Things are always going to keep moving. And I think the most important thing is processing the difficult emotions that are associated with this, because you can see it's draining out of her. As she's pouring this, it's draining out of her, right? And it's kind of like allowing yourself to feel and experience those emotions, but allowing yourself to release them, right? They kind of have to go, because otherwise, if you're holding on to them and making an identity out of them, they're going to stick with you forever. And it's really hard to connect with a new opportunity when you're carrying all of the disappointment of the past, right? So there's a certain need for processing these emotions. And the thing that always comes to mind is like, there's no use crying over spilled milk. It's like, it's sad that it happened and it's frustrating, but you can't change it, right? You can't go back in time, and no amount of perpetuating your own suffering is going to make it any different, right? The only option that you have, your power is only right here and right now. And so the more that we focus on the past and the past repeating itself, the more likely it is to repeat itself, only because that's what we're focused on. Right? And so it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I would just want to say, this is a really challenging energy. I usually don't spend as much time focusing on this bottom card, but because it is really intense, this is what's informing whatever this is for you, whatever this thing that you're maybe just a little bit too close to. So with your first card showing up as strength, this is what you need to know. And I hate to say it, but whatever you're struggling with and whatever you feel challenged by is not only pushing you and challenging you to become stronger and more resilient and to kind of realize your ability to endure, but it's So it's like, yeah, well, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But it's like, it's also, we're not going to know the limits of our strength and what we're capable of unless we're tested and challenged. And the unfortunate thing is like, you know, there are a lot of really challenging and awful things that happen to us in our lives that test our strength. That, you know, if it were up to us, we would never go through that. We would never choose that for ourselves. And so, in a sense, if it were all up to us, we would likely stay in a comfort zone where things are familiar and safe, and, you know, we're not being pushed too far outside of our limits. But the thing with that is, you don't really know what you're capable of handling until you're put to the test. And there's a certain amount of self-assuredness and confidence that comes from going through hell and coming back, right? And this is recognizing that strength, you know, strength is not just a physical thing. It's not just a demonstration of capability. This is about inner strength, right? This is about being able to connect to hope and hold hope and faith even in the darkest of times, and to recognize that strength can be loud and, you know, courageous and demonstrative like a lion, but it can also be gentle and loving and kind and understanding like a lamb. And it's about recognizing that you can take those two different energies and you can apply them when needed. Like sometimes you will need to be the lion, right? And you need to be fierce and bold and, you know, claim your dominance, not to be pushed over. And sometimes you need to be the lamb that is just gentle and kind and holds space, because sometimes the most overlooked but effective demonstration of strength is actually kindness, right? Showing kindness, showing love, humility, understanding, right? Because it takes courage and strength to be able to cut through all of the crap and say, like, as difficult as this is, or as awful as this is, or as challenging as this person is, I love myself, I respect myself, and I am going to demonstrate that same love and compassion and understanding that I want to receive to other people. It takes a lot of self-awareness. It takes a lot of self-control, not to just be reactive, but to be, well, like proactive, I guess, but to be the person who leads by example and leads with a calm, quiet confidence and strength. Right. And so, especially if you're around people that may mistake kindness or sensitivity for weakness, and especially if you were kind of raised to believe that, or if that's been made out, if people have maybe criticized you for that, it's recognizing that, like, you have a lion heart, right? And even if you're showing up in that kind and gentle energy, like, you're not one to be trifled with, and you're not a pushover. You know, and the people who underestimate you or who take your kindness for weakness, you know, that has absolutely nothing to do with you and how you're showing up or your value or worth. And it has everything to do with that person, right? Where they're at. It's just a projection of their own kind of experience. And so sometimes the most loving thing that we can do is, like, assert our boundaries and stand up, right? And be unafraid to claim our position. And then other times it's just granting that kindness and compassion and unconditional love. And it's trusting yourself to determine which approach is necessary, because you can play both roles. And this is being, like, unwilling to give up your power or to allow your power to be taken by anyone, right? Because the only way that anyone can make you feel inferior is with your consent. And at any time, if you're feeling low or other people you feel as though they're undermining you, you can take back that power at any time, because that is up to you. So this is where you're at. This is what you have. And I would say, like, if you don't identify or you don't see yourself as a strong person, you might need to take some time to foster that relationship to yourself. Take a look at yourself. Who are you? What have you experienced? What are the challenges that you've been faced with in your life that you thought at the time that you could never handle or overcome? And how did you work through that? What have you learned? How has that shaped you into the person that you are now, right? Like, take some time to recognize what you've been through and truly to feel confident, right? Because as much as it might be a struggle, it has made you, it has only amplified your strength, inner strength especially. And that is an absolutely huge resource that you have. And it's also connected to like your passion and inspiration and creativity, right? So it's kind of that primal energy all comes from one space. So this is you being in your power. And you may not feel as though you're in your power, but it might just be because you're overlooking your strength and you're overlooking the strength that and the courage that exists in your gentleness as well. And what is showing up as your challenge for this month is the Four of Swords. And the Four of Swords is a very kind of quiet, restful, healing and recuperative type of energy. And so this is the energy that we're in after a major loss or after a major struggle or heartbreak. You know, the Three of Swords precedes this. And yeah, that is like a really kind of painful and challenging energy. It's those, yeah, it's like, it's loss. It's something that kind of can shake us to our core and may take a really long time to process. There may be a lot of complex emotions. And so the Four of Swords is recognizing that when something major happens to us, whether it's physically or mentally or emotionally, or it could very well impact us on all levels, it's important to give ourselves the space and time to rest, right? Because if we don't allow that quiet space and that quiet time, and we are trying to move forward as though nothing has happened, we can often perpetuate that challenging energy. Like we just kind of push it down and bottle it up, and it doesn't get the chance to kind of be resolved, and we don't get the chance to heal. But yeah, it's kind of like, especially if it is in relation to feelings, think about it this way, right? If you were sick, like if you were extremely ill, would you be, getting up and forcing yourself to wake up at 4 a.m. and like doing an hour of like intense exercise and then just being on the go all day and focused on being as productive as you possibly can? Or would you be like, wow, I'm really not doing well. Like, I don't think it's good for me to be pushing my limits. I need to rest. I need to give my body the opportunity to like fight this off. That's what this is about. It's like if you break a bone, right? If you break your foot, you have a cast and you have to stay off of it, right? And you have to modify how you're doing things to allow the stress to be taken off of that, part of your body for it to heal. Because if you have that broken foot and you're constantly walking on it, it's not going to get to heal. And you could potentially make it worse, right? So this is about recognizing like it can be really hard to embrace quietness and solitude. And like sometimes this feels like stagnation. Sometimes it feels like we're not doing anything and nothing is happening. And sometimes the universe kind of forces us into a place where nothing's happening and things are feeling stagnant because we're being encouraged to rest, because rest is what we need. And the universe is basically screaming like, you just need to rest. You need to heal. You need to work through this, because you've got to kind of get yourself in a position to come back, and you've got to have your energy and your resources in the right place for things to start moving forward when the time comes, right? So the best thing that we can do is embrace where we are. If it's a time to rest, to actively and consciously rest, right? Even if we feel an aversion to it, it's recognizing that sometimes rest is even more productive than productivity, right? Because when we're able to rest, we are recuperated and we are ready to go, so that even if the tides shift really quickly and an opportunity arises and it's time to strike, we're able to jump on that because we've benefited from this time. So rest is just as important as action, and we don't want to be constantly selling ourselves short by, expecting that we're just going to keep going, just going to keep moving. And obviously, like for each and every one of us, the amount of resources and time and support that we have to support this rest will be different, right? So I'm not saying that you're necessarily going to be able to, just take a week off of all your responsibilities, right? But this is saying like when you are conscious about embracing rest and prioritizing your healing, every little bit helps, right? And it's about making sure that you are taking what time you can. If you need to ask for help or support, This is saying like it can be an uncomfortable energy, but seeing it as an investment in yourself, right? And especially if you've got big plans for the future and big things that you want to do, you deserve to be in a good position to move in that direction and take advantage of those things. And so this healing and restful energy, whatever this is that's longing for your attention, that might need a little bit of kindness and compassion. The Strength card is also about, like, first and foremost, treating ourselves with kindness and compassion and love, and recognizing our worth and that we're deserving of it, even if, even if we feel like we're struggling, or even if we feel like we failed, or even if we're caught up in the pain of disappointment. It's like it starts with you. And maybe you're hoping that other people are going to kind of like push you to rest and push you to heal, or create that space for you. And sometimes, unfortunately, that's not how it goes. Like, so this is kind of telling me that you might have to be proactive in intentionally making this space or taking this time for yourself, as an act of self-love, in order for you to be able to work through this. And your advice for embracing this energy and working through however this period of rest and healing is challenging you, is to show up in this Page of Wands energy, which is all about connecting to our passion, the things that make us excited, the things that inspire us to move forward, right? Because it's kind of the opposite of this kind of depressive energy, right? This is downward focused, whereas this is upward focused. And because this is connected to the things that excite you, it's being willing to connect with that energy, to recognize what you enjoy, what makes you feel alive, what makes you feel inspired, right? And this is like an uninhibited expression of that energy, right? So it's like she's kind of joyful. She's in her own space, right? And she's expressing herself. She's not looking around at anyone or anything else, what anyone is expecting of her, what anyone else thinks of her, right? She's just kind of in her own energy, in her own moment, and just kind of connecting with that primal energy, that authenticity, and expressing it without fear, right? And this is like also, it can be like joyful movement, like dancing, like connecting to music, getting into your body, right? Especially if you're prone to overthinking or overanalyzing or getting swept away in emotions. Sometimes just getting into your body and grounding yourself will help kind of balance out your energy and like create a quiet space for you to connect with yourself more deeply. And the other thing about the Page of Wands is that there's a recognition that this energy is still like a little bit young, like immature or unrefined, right? Like you're not a master yet. You're not meant to be a master. You're not meant to be perfect. You are like on the path of moving in that direction. And the more that you connect with this energy, the more that you practice it, the more that you allow yourself to express and move through it, the more that things will be transformed for you, right? And so this is being willing to recognize that you may be at the beginning of the journey, right? You can't expect yourself to be in like the Queen of Wands or the King of Wands, or the Emperor kind of energy, right? But that's maybe the goal, right? And even if it's personal development wise, or even if it's related to career, or whatever it is that you're passionate about, that you want to move forward with, it's saying like it's about honoring where you are right now, honoring the effort that you're putting in, and allowing yourself to be okay with it, right? To take advantage of this energy while it's available to you, because the only way that you're going to be strengthened and you're going to hone that energy and move along into like a higher version of that, or further along the path, is to connect with it now, right? And yeah, I love this. It's very youthful, right? So connect to that energy, that youthful energy, that uninhibited joy and creative self-expression, and trust that, the light that you are looking for is within you. And, the more that you recognize it, and the more that you, fan those flames and allow yourself to connect with that without shame or guilt or fear, the more your path is going to be illuminated, right? And you're also going to be a beacon for other people as well. So this is a reminder that like it's all within you. And anytime that you're tempted to look outside of yourself for signs of light, right? It's connect back to yourself and your energy and your intuition, because the answers are all within you. And the more that you allow yourself to express yourself, the more you're going to be able to like move through things in an authentic manner. You know, the more authentic your energy is, the less you're going to be sabotaging or blocking yourself. So I'm going to quickly share with you the few channeled messages that I connected with before I started this reading, and then we'll get you a couple of oracle messages to tie everything up. So your first message was forceful. And I thought that was really interesting. So it's like, I don't know if maybe you feel as though you're being forceful. Maybe other people are being forceful. Maybe that's an energy that has been more present that you feel uncomfortable with. Or it could be that, you know, it could be that you need to be a little bit more forceful, right? So it's kind of like, you know, recognizing that you've got inner strength, right? And that might manifest in you asserting and holding boundaries and like roaring like a lion, or it might result in you being just sweet and gentle and receptive like a lamb. And it's trusting that you will be able to discern what kind of energy and what kind of expression of strength is necessary based on whatever you're dealing with, right? So so forceful, it might be a vibe, it might be a concern, it might be a sense of like feeling hesitant because a forceful energy or an assertive energy doesn't feel as diplomatic as you might like. I'm not sure how that might apply specifically, but that's up to you. The next message that came through is integrating new levels of awareness. So this is the sense that either you may have recently made some major like shifts or changes in habit. It could be change in job. It could be like a transitional period from like one version of yourself to another, or perhaps you recognize something and you're in the process of making a change. And so this talks about like when we make a change or we start doing things differently, right? It's obviously a process and it takes time, and it's something that we need to practice, especially if it's related to habits and forming new habits or kind of like nixing old ones. But as we move further into that energy and as we progress through that transitional period, we kind of come to new levels of understanding, right? Because in doing things differently, we open ourselves up to new perspectives. So integrating new levels of awareness could mean that whatever shifts are taking place, whatever changes have happened, or you've like consciously moved in the direction of, you might be starting to come to new levels of understanding, right? There might be new perspectives, new information available to you, or it's like, you know, now that you've changed this one thing, you have a completely different perspective on life or your relationship or whatever the case may be. So it's recognizing that it's not only a transitional period in terms of the changes that are required of you and the new habits that you're forming, but also it takes time to integrate the clarity and the understanding and the new kind of perspectives, new ways of doing things that might come up as a result of those changes that you've made. So just to be kind with yourself, it's a process in general. And even if you understand or have identified something as like, oh, well, this is the way it is, it still takes time to integrate that, right? It takes time to take that awareness and to put it into practice and to like, to have that integrated and reflected back to you, right? So if you know something to be true, it still takes time to practice that, right? And to integrate that new idea. I'm having a hard time explaining this. I hope it makes sense. But yeah, so having the clarity is not enough. That's just the first step. So just be kind with yourself as you're integrating new information, because it does take time to practice. And sometimes we come to like an understanding or a level of clarity, and then we kind of regress a little bit. We forget, and then we remember again. So yeah, it takes time. And then your final message was Great Gatsby. So you may already have a connection to the book or to the movie or to characters, something in the book if you are familiar with it. Maybe this is a prompt to read or reread or watch the movie, whatever it is that you were interested in. And then the other thing that came up in alignment with it was like the general vibe and aesthetic. So like the 1920s, flappers, like Art Deco, that kind of vibe. You may, and like there was like party, right? Because obviously the Great Gatsby is all about parties, but you may specifically be like, oh, that's such a cool era, that's such a cool vibe, I would love to have a party. Maybe you've been thinking about a Great Gatsby party. I don't know, maybe this is your cue. I have no idea. So I'm gonna get you an oracle message here. The Crystal Spirits Oracle. That's funny. So we've got spirit quartz showing up. So I'm just going to read this directly from the book. And you can see if and how that might resonate for you. So spirit quartz. Essential meaning: connecting to community, universal love, harmony, and cooperation. So that might be where this perspective, this zooming out, may come from. We heal in partnership, the strong lifting up of the weak. We heal in partnership, the strong lifting up the weak, taking turns supporting each other. When this crystal spirit appears, the message is to reach out and connect to your community and discover the true power of your gifts through sharing them with others. Your willingness to put the highest good ahead of the wants of your small self is called for now. Reciprocity does not mean keeping a ledger, but instead feeling the power of offering kind words and acknowledgments. You have the power to change the lives of others and awaken them to the abundance and love available from the conscious universe who works through us all. Today, even the smallest outreach will make a big difference. This crystal's message is to remember your co-creative powers and open up to receiving the gifts you hope for. It may also be reminding you that it is a great gift to allow someone the power of giving to you without expectation of reciprocity, for in doing so, they experience their strength, abundance, and generosity. Listen to your intuition today as you give and receive, connecting to community in a shared desire for healing and replenishment. Right, relationship. Love takes many different forms, and spirit quartz appears to remind you that romantic love is just one possible way to experience the love that the conscious universe has for you. In connecting to community, remember the abundance of love and its power to heal you and change your vibration. You also signal to the universe that from your head to your toes, from your body to your soul, you are ready for healthy romantic partnership. Be open to the different ways love appears, and you will find that you are not so attached to the old expectations of the clothes it should be wearing or the voice it uses when it comes to your door. So love comes in all forms. Prosperity. Love is all around. Can you feel it? Love is just one form of abundance, and it provides a firm foundation when you are feeling weak and unsure. So today, follow this spirit's call and connect to community. Offer others the gift of being able to support you in whatever way they can, so you too may know their power to bring about healing in the world, and experience the joy of helping you achieve this. I'm sorry. I've been having a really hard time reading when I'm channeling because they're just two different vibes. So let me restart that sentence. So today, follow the spirit's call and connect to community. Offer others the gift of being able to support you in whatever way they can, so they too may know their power to bring about healing in the world and experience the joy of helping you achieve the security and prosperity you seek. Abundance is always in a state of flow, and today, through your community, you will see that truth on display. And then meditation. Spirit quartz consists of a main crystal of amethyst, citrine, or white quartz covered by many tiny crystals, creating a community of family that operates as one. Okay. This is an excellent stone to use in meditation when we wish to learn how to be of service, put other people first, or just work well with others. So your relationships might be highlighted, and specifically if you are somebody who's very concerned with reciprocity, or you're worried about putting in the solid effort, making sure that, for everything you receive, you're giving back. If that is a point of stress or contention for you, this is like reminding that sometimes the most beautiful gift that you can give someone is the ability to let them help you, right? To let them help you, to let them support you, because they learn their strengths and they get to benefit from that. And if they feel like every time they help you, you're scrambling to make up for the effort that they've put in, or you're trying to it's one-upmanship, or you're afraid that they're going to hold the love that they've given to you against you, right? Then it can kind of interrupt the flow. So this is basically examining how you are receiving love and allowing yourself to receive love without feeling as though you need to do something to deserve it, and without immediately feeling as though you need to like make up for what you've received or like give that right back. Because naturally in relationships where we are conscious and showing up in an authentic energy, there is ebb and flow, right? The flow of abundance is always moving. And so sometimes it's time to give and sometimes it's time to receive. And when it's time to receive, we can undermine ourselves and others by too quickly trying to prioritize giving back. If every time we receive, we're more focused on what we have to give back in order to make up for it, then we're like kind of interrupting that flow of abundance. And we're kind of introducing stress and anxiety into a dynamic where they're supposed to just be, it's supposed to be beneficial. So it's recognizing that when people help you and support you and give you love, that's beneficial for them. Like they get something out of that too. So you don't have to make up for it, because that's, if that person doesn't want to give you love, they don't have to, right? So you have to trust that they're doing it consciously because they want to and because they love you and because they care for you, not because they're trying to get something back, and not because they're worried about, the effort being reciprocated, because, there should be a level of trust there. So it's just something to keep in mind. And then your final message is Sisterhood of the Rose. And it says beauty and devotion, priestess, mystic, teacher. So we're going to read that directly from the book. Let me just find it here. Might just take a moment. Okay. Sisterhood of the Rose. Beauty and devotion, priestess, mystic, teacher. The Sisterhood of the Rose is a lineage of priestesses and mystics who devoted their lives to serving humanity and seeding light consciousness all over the earth. A cross-section of ancient lineages, it is the path of devotion and beauty. Walking this path means being devoted to seeing and creating beauty wherever you go. The rose symbolizes the heart and the sacred geometry of all life. You are being called to notice the beauty around you, particularly in nature, and hear the whispers of Mother Earth. You are being called to spend more time in nature, as all the ancient secrets live there. Mother Earth is constantly whispering. Spend time admiring her creations, and you will be rewarded with insight and grace. You are being called to take a little more time to both notice the beauty that exists all around you and to contribute to the beauty of the world in your own way, too. This could be through your own creations or in the little things like how you dress to picking flowers for your home. Every time you devote your time to creating beauty, you harmonize the planet a little more, and the shift in vibration can be felt. And the action to go along with this card says, surround yourself with beauty and create beauty wherever you go. So this is kind of along the same vein of like giving and receiving, right? So, and especially when it comes to your perspective, you might be a little too close to something and your personal feelings might be kind of clouding things. So zooming out, this might be a good way to do it, like grounding yourself, getting out in nature, looking for the beauty around you and being inspired, living a beautiful life, living a loving life, and trying to create, like, not in terms of a manipulative trying to create, right? But, trying to contribute something beautiful, whether it's a kind word, or, wearing like a flower dress that makes you feel good, right? It's like, however you can cultivate more beauty and share that beauty with others, it's trusting that like that is an energy that is needed right now, and it's going to be beneficial not only for you but for others as well. So that's nice. And I'm going to get you just a few affirmations. These may be helpful to you immediately whenever you're watching this. It could be helpful on the daily. It might not be something that you make use of until a little bit later on. But we'll put it out there, and it might be helpful to just make note of these or write them down, so that if you do find yourself in need of a little extra encouragement or affirmations to kind of get you going, you've got these on hand. Okay, I've got 2, so we'll try and get you one more. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I just got really impatient with these cards. I don't know why. Okay, so your first. To truly flourish is to release all the tension that holds me back from letting love pour through me. Oh, interesting. So that's kind of like this energy, this expression of love, right? And so that kind of goes hand in hand with this. So the more that you connect to beauty, the more that you appreciate it and allow yourself to be moved by it, and the more that you prioritize not only recognizing and appreciating it, but creating beauty yourself, right? I think that is a form of love. That's a form of self-love. That's a form of self-care. And it's not only something that'll benefit you, but to others. So it's kind of letting go of anything that is keeping you from connecting to the love and beauty that surrounds you and taking action in a way that creates more of that. By spreading loving energy, I attract more love. That goes hand in hand, right? To lead with love and to demonstrate that, the more that we put that out there, the more that draws in more of the same. So like, everything that we put out comes back to us in one way or another. And this also goes hand in hand with reciprocity, right? Giving and receiving, and being open to giving without expecting anything in return, and to, be open to receiving without feeling as though you have to compensate in turn, right? Because it's like, it'll naturally, like, it naturally will balance itself out if you've got conscious people who are showing up in authentic energy. So, and then we've got, when I respect my money respects me. So yeah, and that could be like gratitude for any kind of material or financial abundance, especially if that's been something on your mind, something that you're feeling a little bit limited by. Yeah, it's just taking time to appreciate the money that you do have, the things that you've been able to do and acquire as a result of that money, your job, whatever the case may be. It's totally okay to have aspirations for the future and to want to connect with more. But the best way to do that is to be aware of what you've got now and to allow yourself to appreciate that. And that gets you in that vibration to bring in more just naturally without really stressing yourself out. So Sagittarius, I'm going to leave your reading here. I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy this reading at all, or you found it to be helpful, the best way to support me is to like this video on YouTube. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think or how it resonated. Beyond that, if there's anyone you could think of that might be interested in my readings, you can feel free to share my content or my channel with them. And if you haven't already, make sure you hop on over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot and ensure not only you're subscribed if you want to continue engaging with my content. So not only subscribe to the channel, but make sure you are signed up for notifications, which is the little bell icon, as that will keep you up to date on new readings as they're posted. So Sagittarius, I hope the rest of the month is good to you. This is really beautiful energy. It's like there's a lot of healing and just like claiming your strength and your power and recognizing that that shows up in different ways, right? But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure reading for you, and I'm very much looking forward to reconnecting with you again next month. And in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.